Hi, today I'll be talking to you about the student learning outcomes in English 219. Before I start, I'd like to point you to where you can find the student learning outcomes. You can find the student learning outcomes in two locations. You can click on the course syllabus and schedule and open up the course syllabus. There you'll find all 5 student learning outcomes, or you can click on major assignment prompt. I'm going to go ahead and click on major assignment prompts because it also leads us to the final portfolio assignment prompt. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and click on the final portfolio assignment prompt and wait for it to download. Now that the final portfolio assignment prompt is open, I'd like you to go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the second page. So here you locate the 5 student learning outcomes for the course. Go ahead and pause the video here so you can read over the outcomes. So now that you've taken a minute to read over the course outcomes, I'd like to give you some background information on how to understand the course outcomes. Outcome number 1, analyze rhetorical situation, has to do with the context from which you'll be creating a text. So in this outcome, you'll be looking at what you're writing, the intention for writing it, the purpose, who you're writing to, and possible constraints from that particular genre. For outcome number 2, find and evaluate information, you should be considering the sources that you looked at when composing your document. For example, you may have pulled sources from a government website, or you might have went to the library and pulled secondary sources. In either case, I'd like to know what you looked at and what you included in your document. Outcome number 2 also discusses the type of examples you looked at when composing your document. For example, there will be times when I'll ask you to look at student example or examples from the internet. Outcome number 3 has to do with your compositional process. For this outcome, you should consider how you went about constructing your document. You should also consider how your document functions with your intended audience. Outcome number 4, presenting documents, you should consider what changes you made to the document and how those improved how your document will be received. Finally, for outcome number 5, if you'll just give me 1 second to scroll down, you should consider the different ways you've interacted with your audience. For each assignment, I'm going to ask you to include a multimodal component. What that means is I'll ask you to move beyond just words on a paper. For instance, you'll be communicating via video, you'll be communicating via images, and other forms of communication. For this outcome, I'd like you to discuss the benefits of composing multimodal documents. I'd also like you to discuss when and how best to do so. Now that we went over the course outcomes, I'd like you to scroll to the top of this final portfolio assignment prompt. I want to draw your attention to number 2 in the assignment prompt description. Point 2 discusses how you'll have to write a reflective letter for each major assignment project. In that reflective letter, you'll be discussing the student learning outcomes as well as other things, how you considered audience, purpose, and medium. You should consider these reflections as first drafts of what you'll be including in your final portfolio. Finally, look at point 3 in the final portfolio assignment prompt. Point 3 discusses how you should include evidence. Evidence can be anything from direct quotes from maybe discussion boards, quotes from some of your projects, or even screenshots of what your projects look like. In either case, you shouldn't just tell me that you've learned these student outcomes, you should also show evidence that you've learned these student outcomes. Now that we've discussed the student outcomes, and I've given you a bit of an explanation of what I'm looking for in your final portfolio, I'd like you to go ahead and return to our Learn page. Now that we're back to our Course Learn page, I'd like you to scroll down to the sample gallery. Sample gallery can be found on the left-hand side of the page near the bottom. In the sample gallery, you'll notice that I've included a handful of student examples. Go ahead and open up these links and take a peek of what students have done in the past. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.